Hello guys, welcome to Webtricks Home. This is the Laravel tutorial part 2 and we'll be creating a backend application for our project in this video. And you can see we are working on the same project that we started on part 1. So basically we'll be creating a database here in this part and work on the insert, delete and update functions. So let's open the local database server here first. Alright, so localhost /php myadmin. So the database is gonna open, and if you remember, we have declared a database name color mag in our env file earlier. So we'll create the same. Go to new, then write a database name here. You can select the character set from here. I'm not gonna do that. Then click on create, and the database will be created. All right. So there's no table as now. So what we need to do is now the command prompt comes in action here. I've already installed the Laravel composer here. So going to the command prompt and going to the project folder. Then type php artisan and you can see all the php commands, Laravel commands here. We can use those commands to create models, then migrate files, right? Then create controllers, alright? So first of all, we'll be creating models, and you can see the database migration file will be there in database migration folder, and the models will be in app folder. So we'll go on the command prompt and start a model. That's php artisan make custom model. Then the table name -m, and the model is created, and the database migration file as well. So we go to the model file and define the table name in plural tense here. That's mandatory in Laravel. Then if you want, you can change the primary ID there or keep as it is, like define ID only. Or if you want a unique ID, then you can type different name here. I'm using MID. So we go to the migration file and declare the same ID there. Then we can define all the table fields here. So for varchar, we'll be using string. If you want long text, you can use long text or text, right? And if you want integer, you can use integer. For this menu file, I'll be adding titles, status and slots, and about slots we'll talk later. So we can go on php artisan migrate here, and the file will be migrated. So you can see in the database the table is created and even fields are there, alright, with the varchar options there, varchar type. So we can do the same for other tables. Let's see. So we'll create table post. Alright, so do the same. Define the table, define the ID, then define all the fields on the table, the database table, right? So here I'm using text for description. Alright, so go on creating, and once you're done, you can type php artisan migrate in command prompt, and the file will be migrated. Alright, so let's go on create another table for advertisements here. Define as needed. Okay, that's done. You can see that. Now what we need is we'll create a controller here. php artisan make is a controller. Then give a name. I'm giving crud controller. Then we'll be adding all the methods for here for insert, delete, insert and update here, basically. So we did needful here. And if you are well known with PHP, you know everything about this methods, right? So the function name, then defining variable for input, defining table value, then defining folder name for all tables where images will be loaded, then unset data table, then defining data created at, we've got timestamps automatically, right? Then if input has title, we'll add slots in the database field. Then if input has image, we set the image and folder name from the table, right? Input has password, we'll encrypt the password. Then here's the slots function, right? So we'll be changing the title into slugs, replacing all the spaces and all the other characters with hyphen there. Yep, that's done. Then we'll go to the update function, and that's basically the same as the insert function. Everything's same. So if you want to copy this crud controller, you can go to the description below, go to my website and copy the file from there. Alright, so we'll be adding nice little masses when the data is updated in the database, right? And then we'll be adding the function for image uploads, right? Defining the name so that there's no conflict even if we uploaded the image, same image twice, right? So that's done. So let's create a backend folder here and add a backend file. I'm using admin LTE, so copying the index file from there, index.html, keeping it in public, resources, views, backend, index.blade.php. Then going to the roots, web.php, and defining the root. So I'll be adding admin panel here. So when you type admin panel in the URL, you'll find the file, backend file. So copying all the associated files to public, backend, right? And then relocating all the links as we did with the front-end files. So it's a huge file, so let's focus on CSS and the JS first. Alright, so we'll work on the emails later. So once it's done, go to the browser and see how it appears. So everything's done except for the images, so relocate the images. And that's done, right? Now what we're going to do is we'll create an app.blade. Basically we use includes in other PHP scripts, right? So here we'll be creating app.blade where we'll be keeping the header and footer, removing the main content, and instead of main content we'll be adding at yield, right, and the content. So for the index file we'll remove all other things, header and footers, and only keep the main content. Then what we'll do is, right, I'm going to show you here. So we'll use add section content, and that will be yielded in app.blade when we open the index file, and that will be done with add extends backend.app. And you can see now when you click on admin panel, the index file is opening, right, without any problem. So we can make the necessary changes in the app file, app.blade, so that we can remove everything we don't want. Basically the navigation, right, we don't need all these things, we'll keep only the needed. Basically I'll be keeping only the menu link here, right? You can see add menu and display menu. So we'll be creating a new file folder named insert, and then creating a new file named menu.blade.php. that will be basically the insert menu file, right? Doing the same, extending it to backend app, add section content, right, and within stop. In between that we'll be keeping all the contents. So basically it will be the form, check out what fields we need. So keeping the same fields, giving the same names to the inputs, right? And then define the root and web.php. Let's give it some name so that we can type it in the URL and get the file. That's menu. So you can see the file is being displayed. At the submit button, we'll need it, right? So you know everything about it, right? So file is done. Try to add something and it'll say method not allowed because we haven't defined the root for submitting the data, right? So let's define an action URL something here. Then we'll add the mandatory CSRF and token value here. Then we also pass the table value here, right? If you remember the crud controller. Then we can add nice little alert from Bootstrap, right? Alert dismissible, right? And that will display masses, success masses once the data is submitted here, right? So session success, that's done. So we'll go and create admin controller, different controller for backend, right? And we'll use the DB, we'll use the table, then remove the admin panel function from there, root from there, and define it here. Then we'll add the root here. When we get admin panel, we'll redirect it to admin controller under the name admin panel, under the function admin panel, under the method, whatever you say. Then we'll do the same with the menu form as well. Let's give it a menu form. Alright, so you can see the menu form displayed here. If you go to the previous URL, you can't find the form there because that's not defined in the root now. So let's try, and you can see the same error. That means we need to connect it to the crud controller. So we add that. Now you can see when you click on submit, the file will be submitted. Alright, and you can see it updated in the database as well. So let's give another try with multiple words, and you can see the slash as well here. Refresh it. So you can see that nice little slash right there between the about and us. There's a little hyphen there, right? That's what the slash does. So now let's add that URL for menu form in the app.blade so that you can get it from the navigation straight. You don't need to type in the URL. Yeah, there you go. So let's go with another folder, display folder, right? And inside the display folder, let's create menu.blade that will display the menu data, right? So the same thing, but here we'll be adding table, database table that will display all the data, right? Add the required fields, titles, and then you can go here and define function for that. So menu viewer define. So let's just go with the basics. Define the root and see how it appears in the browser. And you can see a little mistake here. Let's fix it. Yep. So you can see the table will be displayed here. So let's define the data from the menu form, the database, what you want to display. I'm using pageNet so that I get only 20 data at a time here in one page. So using for each and displaying all the data from the menu table and database, and you can see nice little table here. So let's go with the edit and delete function, right? But first let's add the URL for display so that you can get it from here, from the navigation straight. That's done. Okay, so let's go in the admin controller and add the delete function here. We'll need the ID here, so giving a variable $ID here, so you know it, right? db underscore table underscore menus, where mid equals $ID, delete, and return redirect means when the data is deleted, we'll redirect it to the menu view, means display menu file. So adding the URL in the display file, that's done. Adding root in the web.php and defining ID as well. So when you click on delete, the data will be deleted. You see here. So let's go with the edit function as well. It's almost same, right? But we'll be displaying the data only here. So we can use first to get single data, right? And the return view will be update file from menu. Let's add the URL. Alright, and add the root as well. So now what we need to do is we need to create an update menu file. So we'll create update folder, copy the menu file from there, add it in here. Alright, then define the needful, do the needful, right? And display all variables here, and even add the input field for menu ID, right? So everything's done here. So we'll be adding the URL connecting it to the update function from crud control. So when you click on edit button, you can see data from the database, edit it and submit, and you can see the data is submitted, the data is edited, right? So let's do the same with the post. We can just copy all those things and change the URLs only. Basically all things will be the same except for the image, and I'll show you the difference. Let's just do the needful first. Okay, that's almost done. Then create the post insert file, check the fields and add it in your insert file. Okay, so go with the display file as well, make all the changes, and you know how we display the image right from the database. So you can see, check it in the browser, make necessary changes if you want, right? I'm not going to make much changes here, keeping the video as short as possible. So we go to update file and make necessary changes in the update file as well. You can use for it if you're using Git. Right, you could and add the ID value in the input field, and if you change it to first, you don't need that for each loop. You can directly change the variable to straight data, right, and you'll get everything. So make all the variables display here. Yep, that's done almost. Right, so try to add data, add some image here, and you see there's a little error in the display file. Fix it. Here's the error, so it's fixed. Refresh it and you can see data is displayed there except for the image. So that's because we haven't added this ink type multi-part form data there. So refresh it and add some file and check why it's not being displayed, right? So the basic thing is you need to check in the database and you see there's no data in the image field, so it means the image is too big to get inserted. So let's start with a small image, add it, and you can see it, right? So add one more. Okay, so now what you're gonna do is add the text editor here. I've got it in some of my files, so coming into the project you can download it, right? So basically what you do is we need to link this ckeditor.js file in our app.blade, right? Let's open it first, add it in the script, URL public /ckeditor right? So now at the end you just need to add ckeditor.replace and the field name that you want to replace, and when you refresh it, it will be done, right? File is taking much longer to load, so I'm cutting all the JSS required. So you can see here still how we can edit the text here. So removing all the unnecessary files from here, and you'll get a nice little file here with the ckeditor, right? So that's how it's done. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe our channel for more videos. We'll be working on other parts in the next video. Thank you.